Today we're going to look at 10 surprising facts about modern America. Whether it's culture, society, or geography, these are things that many people don't know. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10. People in the US are living longer. This is one of those statistics that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It's not a big deal and doesn't get a lot of news coverage. But the average life expectancy in the United States has gone up. The year 2000, the average life expectancy was 74 years old. In 2021, it had risen to almost 80 years old. Now, there are some issues with this stat. 1. They're talking about the average. So somebody is going to have to die very young to bring that number down. But also, if you look at the top 5 countries for average age of death, the United States isn't even in the top 25. It's like 61st. Japan is no. 1. Singapore is 2nd. South Korea is 3rd. Then Spain and Switzerland tie for 4th. And then the United States shows up at 19th. So yeah, we're getting better. But other countries are doing way better than us. No. 9. A lot of people still don't have internet access. Yes, here in the United States, 63% of all households do not have access to the internet. Now, they say households, so that could mean one person or it could mean 6 people living together. On average, though, it's about 3 people per household. That means close to 1 out of every 3 Americans don't have access to the internet. It's kind of scary. Now, a few years ago, I did a video about how a majority of the world doesn't use the internet. I think only 60% of the world uses the internet. That would include both households with internet access and cell phones with internet access. So yeah, the United States is a major country, and we're doing pretty good. But when you compare us to the rest of the world, we got a long way to go. Number 8. A lot of Americans think they can afford a house. Back in June of 2022, Fannie Mae put out a survey where they asked Americans if they thought they could afford to buy a house right now. 39% said yes, they could afford it. A little over half, 56%, said no. Now, back in 2020, before everything started going crazy, 55% of Americans said they could afford to buy a house and 43% said no. So it went from 43% saying no to 56% saying no. Also, there's a bigger problem with this. The median home price in the United States is $140,000 right now. That's as of September of 2022. The median household income in the United States is $65,000. How does anybody, looking at those 2 numbers, think they can afford a $440,000 house when the average household income is $65,000 a year? I don't understand how people confuse the two. I don't know if it's just me, but I think I'd have to be making a couple $100,000 a year to afford a $440,000 house. No. 7. More than half of Americans have no emergency savings. A survey done by Go Banking Rates found that 57% of Americans have no emergency savings at all. In addition to that, 24% said they couldn't cover a $400 unexpected expense. This is why credit cards were invented, really. The whole idea is you need a little bit of breathing room for emergencies, for car repairs, stuff like that. Only 13% of Americans surveyed said they had enough money in their savings account to cover a year's worth of expenses. 9% said they had 3 to 6 months of expenses covered. 4% said they had 6 to 12 months of expenses covered. That leaves 17% of people who said they had more than a year's worth of expenses covered. The report goes on to say that Americans have about $8,500 in an emergency fund. Like I said, 57% of them have nothing. And those that do have something have a little over $8,000 set aside. No. 6. 47% of people are obese. Yes, the United States has a weight problem. We have a lot of obese people in this country. I saw one article that says the only state where obesity isn't the norm is Colorado. Now, California actually has the highest rate of obesity at 27.4% of the population. The lowest is Colorado at 22.9%. And in case you're wondering, yes, Alabama is second highest at 26.8%. Number 5. There are some states that don't pay state taxes. If you live in one of these states, you should be thanking God you're not in most of the other states. If you're making a decent salary, you're probably paying a lot of taxes. In the United States, there are 4 states that don't charge any state taxes on your wages. They are Alaska, Delaware, New Hampshire, and Tennessee. Now, there's gonna be some fine print with this one. For example, in New Hampshire, they do charge interest and dividends. They also have a small real estate transfer tax. Tennessee doesn't charge a state income tax, but they do charge taxes on interest and dividends and a few other things. Then you have special cases like Hawaii. Hawaii doesn't charge any state taxes. They pay for everything else through federal grants and tourism. So they have a lot of crime, high cost of living, bad infrastructure because they don't have the money to fix it. Most states will tax you on interest and dividends, too. But yeah, those 4 states, they're tax-free, 4. Almost 15 million people live below the poverty line. This is one that always blows my mind. We have so many people living below the poverty line here in the United States. I mean, we've got the best of everything. We've got fast food places around the corner. You can go to Walmart and get a job right across the street. We've got everything here. Why so many people live in poverty is beyond me. 14.9 million people, that's as of 2021, lived below the poverty line. This is for 0.5% of our entire population. I mean, this is a major problem here in the United States. And it's a major problem because a lot of these people, they're working multiple jobs. They just can't make ends meet. 3. People are staying single longer. A lot of people are choosing to not get married, not having children, which I don't blame them. It's a lot of responsibility. But according to the CDC, the percentage of adults that are single has been climbing since the 1960s. In 1960, about 21% of Americans were never married. In 2021, that had climbed to 37%. Also, there's a lot of factors for this. 1. People are getting married later in life. But another thing is divorce rates are higher. So people are getting married. They're getting divorced. They're getting married again. And also, we have a bunch of people that just choose to never marry. In 1960, that number was about 10%. So 10% of Americans said, yeah, marriage is overrated. That's not for me. Now it's 37%. That's still a lot of people. 2. The United States hasn't produced enough energy to be energy independent. The United States hasn't been energy independent since 1956. Yeah, we haven't been able to produce enough oil and natural gas to keep up with our demand. In 1956, we produced 32 billion barrels of oil. Last year, 2021, we produced 18 billion barrels. And we have been net exporters of energy since 1973. And we peaked out in 1981 when we exported 12.6 quadrillion British thermal units of energy. Last year, we exported about 7 quadrillion. So we are producing less energy than we used to. But we are exporting more energy than we used to. All right, before we get to know 1. Alright, on to number 1. No. 1. At least 47 million people have a criminal record. According to a report by the Prison Policy Initiative, there are 47.1 million Americans with a criminal record, which makes up about 15% of our entire population. Also in that report, they talk about what percentage of each state is made up of people with criminal records. The worst one on the list is Arkansas. They have 27.3% of their population with a criminal record. Louisiana is next with 24.9%. Then Mississippi, Kentucky, and Tennessee round out the top 5. As far as percentages go, the best we got Delaware with 7.6%. They have the lowest amount of people with criminal records. This whole thing is a major problem in the United States. I mean, you hear people talk about giving ex-cons a second chance, helping them get a job, helping them reintegrate into society. Yeah, we got a lot of ex-cons because we have a lot of people with criminal records. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.